Boom! Today on the PMP Exam Success Secrets with Scott podcast, I'm going to teach you how to solve PMP questions like a chess grandmaster. All right, let's do this thing. All right, so here we go. How do we solve questions like a chess grandmaster? Now, I'm going to teach you that, but before I do, remember to like and subscribe so you get these podcasts coming to you, boom, every single day. Easy like that. Now, let's talk about solving PMP questions. Now, a lot of you out there have been struggling, right? Have you been struggling with questions? A lot of you out there have been taking hundreds, if not thousands of questions. And the more you take, a lot of you, the better you do not get. You do not get better, right? You just keep struggling and you've hit a plateau. Maybe you're scoring about like 65, 68, 71, and you know you got to bump the score up. So something's got to change. You just don't know what to do. And a lot of you out there have searched the internet machine, and what do they tell you? Well, you could memorize things and you could just do more problems, or you could have these little acronyms or charts. And you might have tried those, or you might think, well, maybe I should. And some of you out there have, and it hasn't worked. So you're like, well, maybe I'm dumb. But you're not dumb, you know that, right? So there's got to be a better way. We just got to find it. Well, my perennial pursuit is to find better ways to solve problems. PMP is no different, okay? And so I'm going to teach you a method that grandmasters in chess use to solve their problems, which are strategically beating their opponent and solving a very complicated battle, if you will, chess against each other, right? Now, I was listening to this thing with a guy named, what's his name? Maurice Ashley. He's an awesome dude. He's a grandmaster in chess, means he's really, really good, all right? He is very good. And he was talking about how he goes about solving problems. And he said, there's a misnomer out there that's like that chess people or chess grandmasters and only things can think 77 steps ahead. They know exactly what you're going to do all the way through. And he goes, really, I mean, we have practice at this and we know that the patterns, but we can't see that way, right? Because he said, there's 32 pieces on a chessboard. I don't know anything about chess past that. But once you start, there's, I think he said, 318 billion different variants of ways that could happen. So there is zero chance that out a little bit of ways, they can predict anything that's going to happen. Now, they have a pretty good idea, but the 318 billion variants makes the decision extremely complicated, right? About planning for the depth of how we're going through this. So what he says that they do is they have techniques or approaches that build them up that help them chunk up and decipher how to attack the problems and how to attack the opponents, all right? So there's different opponents where they like chunk up different moves or different sections to say what is possible at this little time, in a sense, time boxing, breaking it down. There's one called that. Then there's pattern recognition, like if this person moves this and this person moves that, I can predictably lay out what the next things are going to happen. So that's a technique they use. But the one that he really said that kind of jumped out at me is this thing that sounds super duper complicated, all right? And so it's called, let me just read it so I don't mess it up, Retrograde Analysis. That's what he calls it. But to me, it means solving it backwards, all right? And so what he says he does is he goes and looks at problems starting with the end state. What are we trying to achieve here? And then he works backwards and backwards and backwards. And then as he plays for the opponent's mind and says, what are they trying to achieve? And he plays it backwards. Then he can say, oh, these are the moves that might get them there. Therefore, I know how they're going to react because I know what their motivation is. You see how that flipping it is? If we go the initial way where it's like, hey, let me go through the 318 billion different ways they could make decisions. That leaves you into a state of like just explosion of the brain in a bad way. But if he flips it and says, what are they trying to do given this situation? There's only a finite number of decisions that they could make to get them there. So therefore, it's a much more predictable problem solving. Does that kind of make sense to you? Now you might be asking, that's great, Scott. Scott, watch the YouTube video, all right? How does this relate to me? Well, it does a lot. And so the reason why this popped in my brain is because I was on a coaching call earlier today, live coaching call. We do an hour and a half all the time. I was on an hour and a half with the Accelerator students where we were throwing it in their kind of chessboard saying, walk me through this problem. And this individual who was solving the problem, she was taking the pieces and she was saying, she was going through it and I could see that she was getting lost because there were a lot of stressors in the problem. It was saying, hey, we are early in the project, but there's not a lot of time to waste. We have a lot of people all over the world. We have a lot of pressures on cost and on schedule. We have a demanding boss. We need to get everybody on board and approve this project management plan and some other things. What should you do to get it done? And as she read it, and we have people slow down and read it, I heard her kind of take it all in. She was laying on all the positives. Oh, we're early in the project. We need to understand what we're going to do. We need to get a consensus. There's tons of pressures from the schedule, from the cost. There's a lot of risk involved. There's all these things. And she's laying it out. And as she went through, we kind of just let her go through as she was. She started saying, well, we could do this, and we could do that, and we do this. And I could see very clearly that these stressors that were out there were running the show. And it was laying out tons of different paths that she could take. Now, in reality, she ended up saying, like, I think it's B. Didn't have a good, firm grasp on it. Didn't feel confident in it. And she kind of like just stuck there. She wasn't really able to move on. It took a little bit of time. So what we did was we took a breath, and we used some retrograde analysis, right? We did solving backwards. We said, hey, forget about the question. Distill down when you read it again. What are we trying to do? What's the one thing that we're going for? Think of a chessboard. What's the goal, the end point? And she said, well, when I look at it, we're trying to get approval from multiple people on the plan. Okay, that's one thing. That's where we're going, right? Then we said, hey, let's walk. Before we layer on things, let's just say, how would we do that in just a general sense? Because we want to start with a base layer. We know the goal without any stressors. Then we would say, how would we do it? Well, we need to get the information in front of them. We need to give them a little bit of time. And we need to get them in a situation or a circumstance, a meeting, etc., where we can talk it through, negotiate, work it through, make sure that they feel heard, valued, and accepted, and that we can get agreement on it. I go, yeah, that makes sense, right? You've done that before, correct? Yeah, I do it all the time, she says. I go, okay, so that's where we're going, right? Get acceptance by bringing people in. Then I say, let's add a little bit of stressor in there. Let's add a little bit of reality. What did she say? One thing that we were dealing with in this problem. Well, there's people on different continents. Okay, stop there. There's people all over the world. So take the base situation that we have now, that we want to bring them in, develop them, make sure they have the information, negotiate, work it through, get an agreement. Cool. If they're across the world, how would we do it given that? Well, we might not fly them in, obviously. We might have to do the meeting via Zoom or LinkedIn or go to meeting or whatever. Okay, so that doesn't negate the situation that we have now. No, it just puts a little variant on it. Okay, so cool. So that's what we could do. We could have a digital meeting. Great. All right. So then let's add a little bit of stress or more in there. Well, they said there's no time. All right. Oh God, there's no time to do this. How could we remedy that given our situation? What could we throw in there a little bit more? One thing that we could do is we could say, well, we don't want them to show up to the meeting and have to hum and haw and then go to another meeting and stuff. Maybe we could send stuff out beforehand, have them take a look at it, build up the questions, build up the thoughts, get some buy-in, and then when they show up to the meeting, they have a little bit of education, and then we can have a more cohesive, engaging conversation. Okay, that makes sense. Now we have a base solution, but we're dealing with the environment in the right way. They say, okay, add the more in there. We've got a crazy boss. There's a lot of risk in the project. There's cost demands. Okay, add those in there. How would we do that? We make sure that those people in those domains were definitely involved. Okay. So don't think about the answers that are given. What would you do in real life? I asked her. She said, well, in this situation, what I would do is I would send out the report uniformly to everybody, give them clear direction to say, hey, we're going to have a meeting on this date. We'd like you to really think about it. It's super important. We want your opinion. We want your buy-in. We want to get you involved. Please show up on this date and let's have a conversation. Let's get to a consensus so we can start rolling. I go, damn, that sounds good. I'd love to do that. And I said, now let's look at the answers. And so when she went through there, boom, one popped out just like that. A little bit different, but it was about the same kind of flavor. Now, the reason why she was expertly able to go to the answer that way is because she simplified how she looked at it, like a grandmaster chess champion. She flipped the game and said, I'm not going to deal with all these stressors right now that are going to pull me this way, that way, and create ambiguity across the world. No, I'm going to laser focus on what my purpose is. That's my goal. Design with the end in mind. My goal is consensus on this plan. Okay. Now, once we have that, we start layering it on there and building a customized solution to solve that does not compromise the goal. So you see how that's a totally different way to solve it. Now, what you need to do when you solve problems is you need to have a calculated and reserved mind. Okay? You need to be able to discern down to what are we doing here? What are we delivering? Okay? That's the goal. Do not get pulled this way or that way with information that's putting stress on you. You know that you're going to put that to the side and deal with it later. But right now, numero uno problem is find out what we're trying to achieve. What's the end state? Be the grandmaster, okay? And then from that, work, define the solution and work the complexity on top of it. If you do that, you will find that the question solving process simplifies. Okay? Now it takes time. Grandmasters aren't born overnight, but it doesn't take that much time. But you know what? If you follow this process, you're going to get better very, very quickly. And you're going to have the confidence to walk into any question, any situation and go, I have a process. I am a grandmaster of PMP solving, and I can do this. Because it doesn't matter the complexity. It doesn't matter the storm. I'm going to be calm, collected, and focused as I solve it. And that's going to get me there. So, my challenge for you out there in TV land is to go and take a hard question on, but take it on like a grandmaster. And then tell me how it goes. Put the comments down below. Put the little thing in there to say, man, I tried it. I'm getting better at it. I'm rusty now, but I see it from a new lens. It brings me new breath. I can do this thing. Or if you have problems, reach out to me. I'll help you. I'd love to make you a grandmaster. All right? And so here we go. That's the lesson for today. If you want to get involved in one of those calls like we talked about, dude, we do them all week, all the time. We're the only people in the world that go live every single day to solve problems with you. Not me talking, you talking, and we working it together. So it's only part of our Accelerator program. I would love for you to be involved. If you want to come and check it out for one class and see what it's like and get involved and learn, have at it, brother. Let's go. So come on, email me, scott@pmmasterprep.com. Call me, 757-759-5282 while you can, and get in touch with me. I'll let you in the program to check it out, and then let's get your goal done. PMP, it's achievable. We can do it. So if you don't want to do anything else, like and subscribe. I'm going to keep cranking these things out and help you every single day. So have a great day. You can solve questions like a grandmaster. Let's do this thing. See ya in the next video.